Good evening, gentlemen. It's Active Aussie here, 7:15 p.m. Friday night. I was not going to make another video today. I was actually about to do some cooking, cook some lamb chops and sausages and salad, but I've decided to come here to a car park not so far from my apartment. And this is a fairly benign place, and I feel fairly safe to make a video here at night in the car. I was just listening to the latest podcast by MGTOW Infinium, and it was very comprehensive and very cohesive as usual. And he was talking about how there is an agenda to label us guys in the so-called manosphere, us MGTOWs, us guys in the red pill community, an agenda to label us as being male supremacists. And he mentioned how two well-known content creators, one of them is called MTR, who I have never heard of before, and the other one is Sandman, who obviously is a well-known content creator within the manosphere. He is very visible. Apparently, these two content creators have been mentioned on a watch list of an NGO known as Diverting Hurt. This is an American outfit. Obviously, I don't really know much about this. That's actually the first time I've ever heard of it. And apparently, this NGO, Diverting Hurt, is supported by and even funded by the Department of Homeland Security. And Infinium went on in regard to how us MGTOW guys are going to be cancelled out. There are constant attempts to censor us, to stop us from getting the information out there, trying to prevent us from communicating with each other. This is what is happening. This is what is going to continue to happen into the future. It's going to become quite a problem. And as you know, I feel there is an agenda by the so-called feminist plantation state that Infinium often talks about. There is an agenda to have us guys labelled as being a type of terrorists, or so-called domestic terrorists, which is just quite laughable. It's just an outright attack on freedom of speech and freedom of association. And at the same time, the radical feminists are becoming more emboldened, and they have even incited violence against us guys. So a woman can go on a TV program like the Q&A show in Sydney, Australia, for example, and incite violence against men. But if I was to go on to any type of mainstream media and do the same thing, you can bet there would be some law enforcement officers from Brisbane Metro South Police Department at the door of my apartment within 12 to 18 hours. There is definitely an agenda to cancel us guys out, to restrict our freedom of speech, and increasingly I feel it will be to stop freedom of association for guys with a MGTOW mindset philosophy, any type of red pill philosophy, there will be attempts to prevent freedom of association. The current situation reminds me of how Australia was for a while in the late 90s, or at least around 1997, 97, 98, in regard to so-called racism and Senator Pauline Hanson, when she started to become quite popular. There were elderly men and women being attacked at her meetings. When they attended her meetings, they were being pushed, spat on, punched to the ground. It was just disgusting and appalling. And I feel that in the future, some of us guys might have to be more careful and keep a low profile, which is something that I don't really want to do. And I just make the point that any guys out there who have small channels, like even under 500 subscribers, whether that's on YouTube or any other platform, don't think that you are under the radar. I'm quite sure that some guys like me, I think I've had about 785 subs maximum on this channel. Even guys like me, I'm quite sure that there could be certain powers that be that may have me on some type of watch list, and other guys who have around, say, between 700, 1800 subscribers. So I feel it's not just the so-called big players, the big hitters. It could be some of the smaller guys as well, at least within the digital sphere, at least online on the internet. And there have been talks here by the Australian government. I've heard it mentioned that the Albanese government wants to crack down on what they call misogynist websites, guys online who are saying negative things about women. And basically it just means that guys who are genuinely criticising women are being cancelled out, and they are going to be cancelled out. And in Australia, we have ASIO, we have the AFP, Australian Federal Police, and these agencies are certainly not benign by any means. And the Australian intelligence agencies work very closely with similar agencies, law enforcement agencies in the USA and also the UK. I feel that at the current time, the UK is probably one of the worst places in regard to censorship of men, trying to cancel men out, trying to restrict our freedom of speech, our freedom of association, and our right to speak out and our right to criticise. So in the United Kingdom, especially Scotland, in particular, Scotland is very bad. There have been many cases of note over there. Other guys have discussed it in videos, so I won't go into too much depth, but I think you know what I'm talking about. But I just feel Infinium's podcast is very important, and men really need to take note. Also, anybody who speaks out against Marxism, the cultural Marxism which is occurring within our universities, and anyone who criticizes